1999 began as any other normal year in the gaming world, and we all continued to see the 5th generation consoles battling it out against one another with the likes of the Nintendo 64, Sony PlayStation, Sega Saturn, Atari Jaguar, 3DO and a few others, all trying to dominate and become the outright winner. The 5th generation had only been going several years for one of these top brands, as that was the Nintendo 64. As for the others, they at least had enjoyed 3 or 4 years. However, it was all about to change as Sega unleashed their new 6th generation console, and which landed 1 or 2 years before the likes of the Nintendo GameCube, Sony's PlayStation 2 and Microsoft's Xbox, as on September 9th, 1999 we saw the release of the Sega Dreamcast. This is video games and consoles from the loft. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another part of Season 4, and today marks the start of my first of 5 videos dedicated to Sega's Dreamcast, where we'll be taking an in-depth look at the system itself, and the remaining 4 videos will be taking a look at my entire accessory collection for the system itself, and then there'll be 3 in-depth reviews on my favourite accessories for the system as well. The Sega Dreamcast is one of my all-time favourite systems, and it is one system that will never ever be forgotten. It's Sega's final system, as this is Sega's Dreamcast. So as from the 9th of the 9th, 1999, or if you lived in Japan from the 27th of November 1998, the Sega Dreamcast took to the market to become the world's first 6th generation video games console, and with its power became the most powerfulest out there at the time. The Sega Dreamcast boasted many great features such as a 56k modem and internet support, allowing us game players to play video games online, which in actual fact made the Dreamcast the first ever console to do so and a pioneer in adding these features. The Dreamcast also came loaded with jaw-dropping graphics which still look fantastic to this very day, and despite the lack of a hard drive, the Dreamcast controllers could be loaded with VMUs or visual memory units, as you could save all your game data onto them and also download mini-games, as the VMUs could be taken anywhere and they came complete with D-pads and 4 buttons as well. The Dreamcast was extremely lightweight and compact in design, and was also loaded with 4 controller ports and a pop-up lid. When the Dreamcast was released, sales were exceptional in the United States, and so much so there was even a shortage. The console was released with many great titles such as Soul Calibur, Power Stone, Sonic Adventure and even House of the Dead 2, and many other great titles as well, and mostly all received excellent reviews, and Sonic Adventure quickly became the best-selling game. However, the honeymoon for the Dreamcast sadly soon ended, as just less than a year later Sony's PlayStation 2 hit the market and quickly dominated, and is still the best-selling console of today. If Sega's reputation wasn't damaged by the likes of the 32X and the CD add-on and the sheer lack of support towards the Sega Saturn, then maybe the Sega Dreamcast would have received lots more recognition and support, and maybe even Sega would still be releasing hardware to this very day. However, as on the 31st of January 2001, Sega announced that they would be ceasing production of the Sega Dreamcast. However, they would continue to release the games that were still in production. Even today you can still play a few Dreamcast titles online, and there are many great titles out there for you to own and collect, and many great homebrew titles as well. The Dreamcast may have been short-lived, but it is definitely one of the most underrated, one of the most undervalued, one of the best, and one of the most coolest systems out there. Let's take a look at this great system. The Dreamcast box was decorated in a wicked colour of blue, and on the back of the box is detailed with lots of info and a few available accessories to purchase. Within the box you receive several information leaflets, from a warranty card to the Dreamcast manual and the Dreamcast Dream Arena manuals regarding on how to use the internet. And of course you receive the Dreamcast console itself, one Dreamcast controller and a visual memory unit. And you also receive an RF AV in cable, or you could just use a stereo AV connection lead, which is perfect for filming gameplay. And finally you receive the power plug. However, the most important items within the box are the console controller and the VMU unit itself, so let's take a closer look at them in more detail. In front of the Dreamcast there are 4 connection ports for your controls, and upon the top of the Dreamcast there is a large power button and a large open button which operates the lid, and finally there is a large power indicator. Around the back of the Dreamcast there is a power terminal and a serial terminal and an AV terminal, and on the opposite side you have your telephone connector and modem, which we will take a look at now, as the Dreamcast's 56K modem can be taken out of the Dreamcast, and if you own a Dreamcast broadband adapter, well, it can be placed into the same connection port. If we now take a closer look at the Dreamcast controller, which as you can see comes with a large start button and 4 colourful buttons X, A, B and Y. And of course the Dreamcast logo is upon the top of the controller, and you also receive an analog thumb pad and a regular D-pad. And on the back of the Dreamcast controller you also have your left and right triggers and 2 expansion sockets, 1 and 2. The Dreamcast controller cable can also be tucked away behind the controller in a groove so that it saves the controller cable from getting in your way. And finally we can take a brief look at the visual memory unit, which comes complete with a D-pad, sleep button, mode button, A and B buttons, and of course a visual screen. The VMU runs on CR2032 lithium batteries, which can be replaced at any time at the back of your unit. On the top of the VMU there are the connections which allow you to easily slide the VMU down into your controller. And setting up the rest of the system could not be easier, as by adding the power cord, adding the AV cord to the console and the TV, and you're already ready to go. Well, the Sega Dreamcast is a system which should be owned by any collector and enthusiast of gaming, in my opinion, and not just because it's Sega's last system or the fact that it might be their best, but because it has a fantastic selection and library of video games which will blow you away, and many had cracking reviews as well, and certain titles that were released in the arcades were even bettered on the Dreamcast due to its capabilities. And besides all these games, there's the internet to explore and a range of accessories which help the Dreamcast become popular with certain gamers as well. And of course there is still various titles to be played online. The Dreamcast has a lot going for it, and in my opinion there is much undiscovered, especially for me. So if you'd like to own a Dreamcast, well, there are hundreds online for sale, and actually at very low prices, and too low in many respects, as you get a lot for your money with this system. And you can pick a Dreamcast up for as little as £10. And of course, if you want it boxed with all the instructions and other bits and pieces, you can pay as much as £20 to £60. And these sort of prices are rather similar in America as well. But if you decide to pick up a Sega Dreamcast, I guarantee you won't be disappointed. Well, that's just about it from me for this first video dedicated to Sega's Dreamcast, and my next video will feature my entire accessory collection for the system, and I hope you'll join me for that. But for now, I'll leave you with Sega's Dreamcast titles loading up. Have a great weekend everyone, and I'll see you soon.